Hello दोस्तों, in today's lecture we'll learn about resource in Kubernetes. We'll see how we can configure resource for a particular pod. There are two main aspects of resource configuration. One is request and one is limit. Requests are basically minimum amount of resource required for pod to run, and limits are basically maximum amount of resource required by a pod, and pod cannot exceed that particular limit that we set in the configuration. In this lecture we'll see how we'll run the pod without resource configuration, and then after that we'll run the pod with the resource configuration, and we will notice the difference between each type of configuration and how they are beneficial for pods. In order to demonstrate, I'm going to use Minikube cluster as well as the stress Docker containers in order to increase the CPU utilization. Let's go ahead and check if my Minikube cluster is running or not. Okay, perfect, they are running fine. In order to capture the resource utilization of the cluster of each node and the pods, we are going to need a metric server. For this lecture I have already installed the metric servers on my Minikube cluster. If you don't have it, then get one installed. You can verify the metric server installation using kubectl get pods -n kubesystem under kubesystem namespace, just to make sure that your metric servers are running fine. Next, I'm going to check memory utilization of the nodes in the cluster. For that, we can use top command, which gives you the CPU utilization and the memory utilization and the corresponding percentage of the memory utilization that you have. So now let's go ahead and cluster, and let's try to run this top command and see what we get. So kubectl top and then nodes, that will tell you the how much CPU is being utilized, how much memory is being utilized, and then what's the percentage utilization of your resources. Now we know that how we can check resource utilization within a cluster. So let's go and quickly create one deployment file which uses basically a stress container, and that stress container is going to increase my CPU utilization on particular node. So I'll just copy this command and we'll paste it to create our deployment.yaml. Okay, the file is got created. Let's check. I have deployment.yaml file ready. I'll open this file and I'll just verify the contents. So it is using stress test as a name, and then using image and then containers that I need. It needs to have a couple of arguments, so I'm gonna just copy these arguments and I will edit my deployment.yaml and I'll assign the argument to the container. So make sure you don't make any indentation mistake, otherwise your pod creation will fail. Okay, now looks fine. Let's go ahead and save this file and let's try to create a pod in a cluster. So as you know, kubectl create and then -f, which is file, and then which is deployment.yaml that I'm going to pass. Perfect. So my container pod has been created. You can check using get pod commands, so I can see my pod is up and running. Okay, after a few seconds we'll go and check what's the current utilization now after creating pod. So again, same command, kubectl top and nodes, and see what we get as a result. And then I'm gonna execute top command, top and the nodes. After a few seconds I realized the CPU percentage is almost 100%, it's actually 100%, and I do not have any core left on the machine because I allocate only 2 cores, and then everything actually being utilized on a cluster. Now let's go back and check what's the resource utilization at the pod level, and then for that I'm going to use kubectl top and the pod command. So instead of node, I'm going to say use pod, and as you can see that the stress test pod is actually using almost all 2 core CPU, which is, so we know that we only allocate 2 core, that is 2000 M cores, which is now it's being actually utilized in the 1868 approximately, which is approximately 2 cores. So everything being utilized on the node. We do not have anything left further to be utilized. Now let's go ahead and delete the pod so that our source utilization will come down. So just use the delete command and then pass it YAML file. It will delete the pod. Now after deleting the pod, I have waited for a few seconds for my machine to cool down, and now let's go ahead and check what's the resource utilization on a node. So you can notice that now CPU percentage has dropped down to 7%, which is earlier 100%. Now let's go back and try to edit our deployment file, and we will add 2 more configuration. One is limit and the one is request. Request, I'm going to say that minimum I need at least 0.5 CPU, and then limits I'm going to say that I need at least 1 CPU, that is max I can go up to. So I'm going to copy this particular configuration and I'll edit my deployment.yaml file, and then I will try to create the pod again. So just copy it, and we go back to our deployment.yaml, and then just below we have resources. I'll edit that, and then I'll paste what I have already copied from my blog. I'll just align it properly so that there's no YAML indentation issues. Okay, looks good. Everything's fine. Now just save it, and we'll try to run it again. So kubectl create and then file. Oops, I think we made some mistake. Let's go back and check again. Oh, I'll just align the request parameter. It was outside. Okay, now let's try. Okay, perfect. So my prod has been created, but with this time with this limited capacity of the resources. Now as a final step, we'll go ahead and check what's the current utilization on the node and then pod. Hopefully it should have come down by now. So the command is same, just that after top we'll use node or the pod, depends upon the resource type. So if you look at the node utilization, which is now currently 56%, so it's almost came down to half, which was earlier 100%. And now let's go ahead and check the pod utilization. So if you look at the CPU, it is now around 1000 M, which is currently half of what we have allocated. That is, we allocate only 2 cores, but currently being utilized is only 1 core. So now you saw that like how do we restricted the resource utilization in the cluster. and these kind of configuration are very helpful when you're really working with a bigger environment and then real production environments. There you can these kind of configuration are very helpful in terms of the stability of overall your application as well as the cluster. Thank you for watching this video. Have a good day. Bye bye.